Hi guys! Today I'm going to share this project with you and teach you all about punch embroidery. Punch embroidery is super fun and relaxing and it makes such a pretty texture. I love it so much. And once you know the tricks, it's super easy to do. Today we're making this really cute cactus. This cactus comes from one of our DIY punch kits. You can find this kit and a lot more like it on plumdiddle.com. That's our website. And yeah, without any further ado, let's get started. Okay, so the first step is to thread your needle with the color you're going to start with. For this project, we're going to start with the green for the cactus. You usually want to start with the inside color. So, to thread our needle, we're going to unwind some of our yarn, then have that all prepped like that. Then we're going to take our threader. The threader comes with the needle. We're going to take the threader and put it down through the metal part of the needle until a loop is sticking out the bottom like that. I'm going to take a little bit of the yarn and run it through that loop. And we pull the tab of the threader till it comes running out the top like that. And that's the first step. There's a second step. The next part is you take the threader, you go through the eye of the needle. The eye is the little round thing. You want to go through the outside of the eye, then you catch some of the yarn and pull it right back through. You can tell this needle is all the way threaded because the yarn is running through the entire length of the needle. It's running out the end, through the entire length of the needle, and then out the eye. You want your yarn to be able to move really freely back and forth. Okay, and then we're going to talk about the hold. You just want to hold it like a pencil, nothing fancy. That's the easiest way to punch. First, do you see how the yarn is running over my hand freely like this? It's not getting caught on anything. I'm going to show you what not to do. I don't want to wrap it around my finger like that. I don't want to hold it so the yarn is getting trapped under my arm or anything. I just want to hold it so that the yarn can easily flow through the needle. Otherwise, it's not going to make a good stitch. And the next thing is about the direction that you face your needle. The face of the needle needs to face the way you're punching. The face of the needle is this part right here. So as you make your stitches, that needs to face the direction of your next stitch always. Which means I'm going to turn my project as the line curves. Awesome. The next thing, when you make your stitches, make sure you go all the way down until it hits the fabric like that. You don't want to just do a little baby stitch like that. You want to make sure the wood touches the fabric. I'll show you what it looks like when you go just a little bit. It doesn't make a full stitch, hardly at all. Now we'll do the good one, all the way down. It's also how you get those nice flat stitches. And always make sure the yarn doesn't get tangled behind you. That's important too. Alright, the last thing you need to know is when you're lifting up, you don't want to lift it up too far like that. Do you see how I just pulled out my previous stitch and made a weird long loopy on the other side? You don't want to do that. So instead, the tip of your needle doesn't ever really need to leave the fabric. Scrape it across the fabric to get to the next place. It helps me to go slowly up and then quickly down. But whatever helps you do that. When you're making your stitches, you don't necessarily need to go in the exact squares or anything. The fabric will just move out of the way for you regardless of where you make your stitch. And then you just keep making stitches along the shape of the outline. If at any point you're having trouble with your stitches, like they're not lying flat or they look strange on the other side, here's a list of the things that are the most common problems. So first, make sure you're punching down until the wood and fabric meet. Punch all the way down. Second, skim the needle across the surface. Third, the face of your needle needs to be facing the direction you're stitching. And fourth, make sure there's no tension on your string. Alright, so then once you get to the point where you've gone all the way around your shape, you're going to go around your shape again, right next to it. It's going to look like a spiral when you're done because you go around the shape until you filled it in. Alright, so we've filled in our entire shape now. Awesome. You just want to pinch right where your final stitch was to pull your needle out, and then you can just trim it right close to the back. A lot of the times people kind of freak out at that point. They're like, won't it unravel? But it really won't. So that's what it looks like from the back. At this point, it doesn't look very much like a cactus, but never fear, when we have all the other loops of yarn in there, it will look much better. We're going to move on to our next color, which is the yellow for the little flower. And for this one, I'm actually going to show you guys how to use an adjustable needle. You can just use a regular needle if you want for this. It's just going to mean the lengths of the loops are the same length as everything else. But I want to show you how to use the adjustable needle. So to start, we're going to thread it, and you thread it very similarly to the way you thread the other needle. You really thread it just exactly the same way. So you go with your threader down through the tube of the needle, starting at the middle end, till it's poking out the bottom there. You loop your yarn through the loop. Pull on the tab so it comes out the end. Then you do the second step. Put your threader through the eye of the needle, catch your yarn in there, and pull it out the end. You know that your needle is completely threaded when it goes all the way through the length of the needle and out the eye. Alright, and now I'm going to show you what makes the adjustable needle unique. So you want to loosen the little screw that's on it with a pair of pliers. You can use your fingers sometimes, but I prefer to do pliers because it makes it stronger. And I want this to be longer than my other stitches, so I'm just comparing for that. And I tighten it back up at the longer length. And now I have a longer needle that I can work with. So I'm going to follow all the same rules, facing my needle the right way, pushing all the way down until it touches the handle. It isn't going to be able to touch the wood part of the handle because there's this extra little metal bit on the needle, but it's the same concept. And my flower's done, so I'm just going to pinch off, same as I did before, trim really close to the ends. And now, do you see how it's longer loops? It's super cute. Again, it's not necessary. If you want the flower to be the same length as everything else, you don't need an adjustable needle. Or you can use an adjustable needle on the whole project. It's just a fun detail. Now we're going to do the orange for our pot. It's kind of a terracotta color. So I'm taking off the elastic and unraveling the yarn a bit before I start threading. Once again, we're going to take our threader, run it down through the metal part of the needle until the loop pokes out the end, put some yarn through the loop, pull the handle, then put the threader through the eye, grab the yarn again. Once again, we're all the way threaded because we can see that the yarn goes through the entire length of the needle and out the eye. While you're stitching, I'm going to put the troubleshooting guide out again. So our 4 things are: we need to punch until the wood and the fabric meet. We need to skim the needle across the surface to move to the next stitch. We need the face of the needle facing the direction we're stitching. And lastly, we don't want any tension on the string. If you'll notice, I keep unraveling the yarn more just to keep it completely tension-free. And here it is so far. It's looking so cute. It's still looking a little blobby, but that will fix itself when the background comes in. All right, we're gonna do our final color, which is the background. So we're gonna unravel the yarn a bit. And once again, we're gonna thread our needle. So we take our threader, put it right down through the metal part of the needle until a loop is poking out the end. We put some yarn through that loop, pull the tab until it comes out the top. Then we put our threader through the eye of the needle. Catch the yarn in there, and out it comes. Once again, it's completely threaded now because it is going through the entire length of the needle and out the eye. So for the background, it's kind of hard to get right on the edge. We're starting on the outside edge like we did with everything else, but because there's an embroidery hoop there, it's a little bit difficult. So I'm actually holding this at an angle. I'm not holding it right directly up and down. You can see there how it's going at an angle so that I can reach as close to the edge as possible. So that's what I'm gonna do for the first circle. And then I'll be able to make stitches normally. Right, and now that you've made it all the way around, it's less difficult to get to the edge. You may still want to do it at a bit of an angle. Just use your best judgment and make sure that the wood handle is touching the fabric. But now you're going to go right along the same edge until you run out of room. Alright, so now we've made it to the cactus. We have to go along the edge of the cactus now. And what I like to do is hold some of the threads out of the way when I do that. Because it's really easy to cross the threads and make them get all mixed up. And we don't really want that. We want our picture to be nice and clear. Okay, so now it's all the way filled in, so we're pinching where our last stitch was and trimming our threads. And it's almost done. Let's look at it. Oh, it's so cute. I love it. But I am bothered by a couple things, like that little loop there. I'm gonna trim it and then it will disappear. You might have a lot of loops, you might not have very many at all. It doesn't matter, you can trim them and they go right away. Next, I'm going to take my needle and kind of separate out anywhere that I want to be shaped a little different. Some of the threads might not have gone exactly the right place, and this will just sort them all out. All right, I think that looks pretty good. Yay, we made a cactus. I hope you guys liked learning about punch embroidery, and thanks for joining us.